Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games and about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Now, I know that I am a nobody, right? As a content creator, I'm started out very small, and take this with a grain of salt. But I heard from an insider on Marathon, and the thing that was kind of surprising for me was that they were saying they have to start the entire art design over, like from scratch. And that's why we don't have a release date, because they don't know exactly how long it's going to take. So they're going to work on the process for a while, work on changing that art design, and then we're going to supposedly get an update for a release date in the fall of the end of this year. And they don't even know exactly when that's going to be, whether that's going to be like September, October, November, December, they don't know. And the whole thing is that Bungie slash Sony, what they're hearing from within the company is that they don't want to pay Anti-Real anything. They don't want to even hire them on. And then there's even some stuff floating out there. This is not from the source, but there are also two others that have been plagiarized, and their artwork is in the game. It wasn't just Anti-Real. Supposedly, there's three of them now. So they're just not gonna wash out some stuff. They're gonna completely scrap the thing. And this is frustrating because they're sitting there waiting for the art design team to be finished with what they're doing, or at least be far enough along so that their department can start working. And this is just really surprising. And we haven't seen any updates at all on Marathon. We haven't seen anything from their YouTube channel. We haven't seen anything from their socials, at least that I've seen or even heard about. There's not a word on anything. Also, too, a lot of people at the studio, from what I was hearing from them, morale is all-time low. Again, a lot of them don't think Marathon's going to do very well. Some of them are worried about losing their jobs. Some of them want to go back to work on Destiny. And man, this is the $3.6 billion nuclear bomb about to go off in Sony. And a lot of us think that, okay? That's pretty easy to see. There's not a lot of confidence. People are not excited about the project. Marathon is not going to pull people away from anyone else from what they're already playing. And it's just going to be brutal out there. But for Sony to have Concord, that was $400 million loss, and to be canned in just a couple of 12 days basically. I mean, the whole of Bungie is going to be much worse, because now Bungie, as we know, already has Destiny 2. Excuse me. And let's take a look at the Steam charts. And as of right now, okay, this was the final shape right here. Final shape. No, yeah, this was the final shape. Excuse me. So yeah, right here was Lightfall. Pretty big one, pretty well sustained. Definitely had some drop off, right? But a lot of players did come back for that. Kind of had a slower regression down. Then we had the final shape, which ended very quickly for a lot of players. Wasn't as high of a player count either. Was not sustained either for a month. And then look at the drop off on that on the final shape. A lot of people looked like it just quit. It wasn't just a steady kind of downward trend like the previous one. It's just flat. And then we have The Edge of Fate, which just released. And again, the drop-off is huge. Look at that. 108,000 down to 56. So either very easy to beat or uninspiring. I'm hearing all of the above. And I even know of somebody where they've been playing Destiny for like 10 years, maybe a little longer. And they're just like, yeah, I'm quitting. Like, there's no point. The story ended. It's over. Like, I'm not excited for anything else that Destiny is going to be bringing to the table. And all of the changes that they made with the Edge of Fate is incredibly frustrating. There's no focus on the gear. They've changed a lot of stuff with how legendaries are and materials and crafting. There's just not a grind anymore. It's like they've completely changed the game. And I've made a comment too with some other previous games about the antithetical audience. And I even mentioned Destiny 2 in this, saying that it's not built for the original audience anymore. They're trying to find a new audience because they know the old one is leaving and going somewhere else. So they're trying to change things to bring in a new audience. We've seen that with Call of Duty. We've seen that with World of Warcraft. We've seen that with plenty of other games too. It feels like it's not really designed for the OGs anymore. And I think Destiny 2 is getting there. And then if we have Marathon, if nobody's excited about Marathon, it's like, okay, what did Sony buy Bungie for $3.6 billion? And that's just what they paid for, back in 22? Well, they've been making and developing since then. And so it's probably cost several hundred more $1 million to develop and make Marathon, which is now going to cost more because it's delayed until we don't know when. And then also the continued development with Destiny. Then we also had Project Gummy Bears, which was spun off into Team LFG, which is also ex-Bungie employees. And we've also had layoffs multiple times at Bungie. So it's been incredibly expensive for Sony to have Bungie as a studio. We're probably looking at roughly $4 billion to buy them, to support them, to run the games, to spin off Team LFG with Project Gummy Bears. And again, as far as we know, we're going to continue to have support with Destiny 2, and they're continuing on with Marathon because there is nothing else to work on. These two IPs, it's what Sony bought them for. And so now what? I mean, if they don't have anything, and the sentiment, too, around both of these IPs is really bad. And so what is Sony going to do? Sony already made changes when Concord failed at $400 million. What's going to happen when the $4 billion they've pumped into these two projects already with Bungie, what's going to happen when that fails? And I don't think it's a matter of if, it's when. And I think a lot of us think that. Also, too, with the other 12, 13 live service projects that they've canceled or has also failed, doing just some rough estimates with a lot of early development costs for AA and AAA games, we're also looking at another like $750 million to maybe another $1 billion. So we're getting closer to $5 billion in failed projects now. Again, if Concord was a bomb going off, Bungie is going to be the nuclear bomb. And with what we already know with Sony Interactive, they already don't have a very good standing position with their stock or with their company, again, because they've been losing so much money. And Sony, too, also cannot stay and get to above double-digit profit. Even this last year was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So yeah, what are they going to do? And if PlayStation fails, there goes the rest of Sony as a company. PlayStation is roughly a third of the entire business. And I think this is why we're seeing the change in strategy. I think they have to. This is why Helldivers is coming to Xbox. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I don't want anything to blow up, but again, if you can't make products that people want, if you're not listening to your consumer base, you deserve to fail. And this isn't just Sony. This is also Xbox. I mean, they almost completely blew up. They were almost canned by Nadella in 2022. So they changed their strategy. Revenue started coming in, and I don't think Xbox is going anywhere now. It's what they did. They did what they needed to do to survive, and I think Sony's going to do the same thing if they're smart, because companies like money. So I think that's what we can expect. I really think exclusivity is a done deal. The only place left is Nintendo, and I don't even think they can sustain that forever. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. We have playlists there on the channel. There's a bunch that I do, and you can poke around it. If something isn't for you, that's okay. Just wait for the next video. I make all of these videos pretty consistently throughout the week. There's also Twitch, which you can follow me at if you want to see everything raw for roughly a week before the VODs disappear. You can always catch stuff there. So, yeah, but what do you guys think? What is going to happen with Sony? What's going to happen with Bungie? I think the best case scenario is that Bungie basically has massive layoffs. They cut either Marathon or they cut Destiny. And they they just focus on one IP. I think that's the best thing that can happen because I don't see how they can honestly keep putting out and trying to support two big IPs like this that are multiplayer games that need constant updates. I just don't see that happening, and then maintaining a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, more layoffs. Hopefully, Bungie still exists to a degree, just because of the legacy, partly. But again, if Bungie can't make good games anymore, why keep them around? I think the smartest thing would be to completely absolve Bungie, take the best, and put them into other studios. I think that would be the best thing. And then what about Project Gummy Bears? Are we excited for like a kind of alternate Super Smash game? I don't know, guys. It doesn't look good. So with that, folks, we'll see you guys on the next one.